Welcome to another episode, an exciting show. It's the David Pollack Show featuring Puppet Carlson, and tonight we have a very special guest. George Papadopoulos is coming on to talk about Tucker Carlson's latest documentary, All the President's Men. Very exciting. We are also talking about Kamala Harris. That's right, she's never done anything wrong. When asked at a recent town hall, she said basically she's perfect, except for the fact that she gets behind the vice presidential seal and calls Donald Trump Hitler. Is it working? Probably not. The polls are not showing very good results for Kamala Harris, and we're going to talk about that right after this.
Squeeze, struggling with the cost of everything from gas.
How do you feel about the economy? Raising interest rates.
Iran's most intense strike ever against Israel.
Get up, Puppet.
What, Dave? What?
We got work to do.
Puppet Carlson reporting for duty. I'm driving, Dave.
You're not driving.
I am driving, Dave. I'm in the Cybertruck.
Come.
I'm gonna regret this.
All right, I don't know about this. Are you sure you want to try to drive?
Dave, Elon made this sucker to drive itself.
All right.
Let's boogie. I got this, man.
Can you even reach the pedals?
Sit down and cool it.
Puppet, pick a lane.
Chill out, Dave. I'm a non-binary driver.
Let's get to work.
Wait up, Dave. I'm the star of this show.
Hey!
Hey!
We're back for another exciting show with my stuffed friend Puppet right there. What do I call you? The patriotic plush pal Puppet, right?
That's me, baby.
Yeah.
I am your patriotic plush pal.
Yeah.
Puppet Carlson reporting for duty. David Pollack. Let's do this show, buddy. We got a great show lined up. I'm super excited about it.
What is going on today's show? Are you prepared? Did you take your notes?
I did take my notes.
Lead us in. What are we talking about today, Puppet?
We are talking with a very, very special guest, which I'm not going to reveal.
I already said
And
it.
then, oh, he did?
Yeah.
George Papadopoulos,
Yeah.
one of my good friends, is on the show tonight.
You have friends?
We're going to be talking to him about his new release. We're not going to spoil that yet.
I already said what there was, too.
And then we are going
Were you
to
not paying attention?
talk about Kamala Harris, the left's new last-ditch effort to pull votes away from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the new polling data that even CNN can't believe.
Yep.
And we are going to bring the panel in for all that. It's going to be a great show, Dave.
Yeah, except for the fact I said most of that. I mean, whatever.
I don't know if you know what you said.
Maybe I don't. You did a great job. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Puppet.
I
You've been what?
am not perfect.
They haven't legalized it yet. What'd you say?
I am not perfect, but I have been working on improving my weaknesses where I don't know exactly what's going on next.
Yeah. No, you're doing a good job. You're coming out of your trunk a little bit more often, checking the headlines.
Yeah.
You're staying up to speed on it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Puppet. You're maturing in this world.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You know
so
what?
I don't want to.
I've gotten some extra smart fiber fill from Mike Lindell.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
But we'll tell that story again another time because as everybody knows, you were born in a My Pillow factory because
That's
Mike
right.
Lindell wished upon a falling star to have the perfect conservative boy, and as a result, you were born, and then you woke
Bada
up.
bing,
in the
bada
factory.
boom. Puppet Carlson is
Bada
born.
Bing, bada boom. We got a puppet, and
That's right.
yeah, and there you are, and then you found our show because you're like, you know what, I'm looking for because your mission in life was to be a conservative pundit, and then you were watching my show, and you said, oh, this is a great show. I see some real potential here. I think I could really make a name for myself on this show. And then you sent me a DM on X, and you said, hey, and at first I thought you might have been a bot.
Nope.
Because I was like, why is this Puppet DMing me? This is really weird. And the next thing I know, here you are. And yeah, but whatever. I gave you a shot.
The real story is more like Dave was looking for something to make the show worth watching, and he saw me and was like, hey, you would really make a great show and actually make me funny and entertaining and unique. And you said, will you please, I mean, on two bended knee, beg, Please, Puppet Carlson, please, Puppet Carlson. I am in Florida, and I need a puppet to help me make my show good. And I said, all right, I'll do it.
I'm not sure that's
That's
what
how it
happened, but like what is her name? Kareem Jean Pierre, KGP, KGG, KGD, KJP.
The absolute worst press secretary in the history of the universe.
You have a problem with the truth, just like her, it seems. But anyway,
not even close, Buster.
Yeah, I think so. Well, look, without further delay, I want to tell you guys about all the president's men, and I'm going to show you the trailer, and then we're going to bring on our special guest, George Papadopoulos, who you thought was going to be a surprise. I said it in the open, but anyhow, take a look. Here's the trailer.
Me to back room. They say this is what happens when you work for Trump.
From about the moment Papadopoulos joins the Trump campaign, you got all these people all around the world starting to swirl around him.
Where's the Russian collusion?
They changed the course of history when they removed me as the National Security Advisor. That person that sits in that office is ready to further enable the idea of war, perpetual war.
Trump said that Obama spied on his campaign.
It's the Obama administration getting FISA warrants. That's why it's called the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Surveillance is spying.
I mean, that is like it's not even fiction. It doesn't exist in any sci-fi writer's mind. After he was elected anyway, they continued the unlawful surveillance warrants with the funding from the Hillary and DNC campaign.
Because they got affected by Trump derangement syndrome. And I think they actually got into almost a level of insanity.
I used to say there's no deep state. They're in your face. When you're in the White House, they're in your grill. Our country has devolved into what the founders never envisioned is an empire.
People start telling you to shut up for asking honest questions. That is, again, my one talent. I just feel like, no. Why don't you answer the question?
That is an awesome trailer. Welcome to the show, George Papadopoulos.
That is good looking, George.
Wow.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. Just even me watching it all over again, it just really instilled these emotions and this fervor to get this story out there right before this massively important election, because there's been so many unanswered questions that hopefully this docuseries, which lays it all out for the first time ever on the big screen, can do for the American people to educate them and to really showcase to them that we are living under the threats and the thumb of not only the intel agencies in the deep state, but also foreign adversaries as well, who want to see nothing else than to sabotage America from an external point of view as well.
Yeah, I have so many questions for you, not only based on this, but just it's interesting because you say in there, well, you work for the president now. I want to go back to the very beginning when Donald Trump was elected in 2016. What was it like? Because, I mean, nobody saw it coming. Maybe Trump did. But the rest of the country and all the fake news media, they were all sure it was going to be Hillary Clinton. 98% sure at the beginning when polls started to close on election night. And then Donald Trump becomes president. You're in his administration. What was that like?
Yeah, look, I guess I was one of the few people, along with, I think at the time when I first reached out to the Trump campaign in the summer of 2015. So I've been on this train for a long time now, guys. And I think it was Corey Lewandowski, Hope Hicks, and a bodyguard, and maybe one advanced guy. That was the team after Trump went down those escalators and he announced that he was going to run for president of the United States of America. And it was very simple why I thought he was going to win. In my family, I have both blue-collar family members and white-collar family members, and the white and the blue-collar folks were kind of expounding upon his messaging that resonates with millions of Americans because it was all tangible. And what do I mean by tangible? It was about the border, it was about security, it was about jobs, trade, security, and the border. That's what he kept talking about, and he allowed the American people to visualize what those policies would look like, whether it was tariffs, whether it was taking out ISIS, or whether it was building a border wall. We could all visualize that. And that's why I think it was so powerful, why all these other candidates just talk pie in the sky. We don't even know what they're talking about half the time. When Hillary was running back then, it was, I'm with her. What did that even mean? It was like you just expected Barack Obama's third term without actually understanding what else that really meant. besides a female face of Barack Obama's third term. So I knew he was going to win. I worked for Ben Carson first, then Trump. Obviously, Ben Carson's an incredible patriot. He joined Trump's administration. They did a heck of a job together. And little did I know, right after I left the inauguration, that there had been an active CIA, FBI, foreign intelligence operation targeting this campaign. That's what the docuseries completely showcases for the first time ever in real time, how the whole thing came together. And then I have the FBI basically coming to my house a day or two before General Flynn and that whole setup, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, the long answer to that question is Trump never had the opportunity to have a proper first term because he and his advisors were always on defense. We had these agencies after us. They tried to sabotage his administration with Comey and Mueller. When that failed, you go into impeachment 1.0, 2.0, the shenanigans of January 6th, the shenanigans of the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, and now, of course, with the ultimate conviction and the potential assassination attempts. This is what's at stake here, guys. And we did our part, I think, in this docuseries to highlight at least the genesis of how this entire thing started.
Wow. What was it, I gotta ask? So, what was it like to go from the excitement of joining a presidential administration, a historic presidential administration, to finding yourself the subject of being the target, essentially, of our intelligence agencies? I mean, that has to be such a uncomfortable place to be, knowing you work for the president of the United States and you're not safe there. I can't even imagine. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, David and Puppet. I mean, if it was only the U.S. agencies that were involved, that's one thing, but it was actually a global effort. And this isn't conspiracy theory. This is all substantiated by reporting by Matt Taibbi in the New York Post, Schellenberger. This has been written about in various other newspapers, including the Washington Post. So it's one thing for like a run amok FBI or like some corrupt agents to go do something illegal. It's another thing when there's like a conspiracy to defraud the American people and being caught in the middle of that. So when they say somebody can be caught between a rock and a hard place, I was caught between a rock and an attempted coup against a sitting president of the United States of America at a time when not even he knew, the campaign knew, the American people certainly didn't know about it, and only a few corrupt officials at the top of the FBI and the CIA knew what was going on, and other foreign intelligence agencies that you'll learn all about during this docuseries. And we fought back. So, of course, initially it was terrifying. I should say horrifying, not terrifying, because I knew what I was up against. And fortunately, I had my then girlfriend, Simona, now wife, fighting for me, getting the truth out there when I couldn't talk. So that was extremely beneficial. And a lot of people really remember that when she was on Tucker's show, Hannity, George Stephanopoulos, and like, wait a minute, there's more to this guy's story than presenting him the way they had me in the media at the time. So I always said to myself, you know, I had my Savior, Jesus Christ, my girlfriend, wife, and the truth on my side. And with those three things, guys, I was able to fight back. And I think we really saved a bullet.
Wow. So what was the end result of your particular case? Because I know the docuseries chronicles a lot of different people. I mean, we all remember Roger Stone being raided with the CNN cameras waiting outside, and you know, several people went to jail, were indicted. What happened in your particular case, and what was the end result of that?
So the end result, we'll start from where we are now, going backwards. The head of the former head of the FBI's counterintelligence division out of the New York office, Charles McGonigal, who ran this entire operation. He was Peter Strzok's boss. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison about 6 months ago. Many people probably don't even know that. It was covered in some media. I think NBC had like a 10-second clip about it. ABC covered it for about 30 seconds. And people still didn't understand why this guy was going to prison. But it kind of shows you the hierarchy of the type of corrupt officials that were setting us all up. And he went to prison for colluding with Russian officials himself. So what he was doing, this is the head of the New York counterintelligence division of the FBI, Charles McGonigal. Just Google this guy, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, and I highly recommend your viewers do it. This was Peter Strzok's boss. And what he was investigating us for, or trying to frame us for, is what he was actually guilty of. So when they say that the Democrats are the ultimate projectors, this is like Exhibit A in that. Then you have Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI attorney in charge of my case and others. He pled guilty to a felony for altering dates, files during the Durham investigation. Jim Comey was fired and disgraced. Peter Strzok was fired and disgraced by the FBI itself. And then you've had various different investigations looking into exactly what happened. And ultimately, the guy that framed me and others was part of this Western intelligence group of spies that was connected to the MI6, which is the British intelligence, who was masquerading as a Russian agent, like they were trying to do to Roger Stone and I think to Don Jr., where they would bring these people and say, hey, we're Russian and we can help you, all this kind of, even though they were framing people. And they planted that guy in my life. And during my interview with the FBI, I told them about him. I said, you should look into him. And they didn't like that answer. So they had to catch me on some sort of perjury trap where I misremembered a date here, a date there. And it was just like very bizarre. So the docuseries really explains it all from A to Z. It's very complicated. I just kind of summarized it here, and you'll kind of understand what we were up against.
But you were pardoned eventually. Yeah,
no, I was very fortunate to be pardoned by President Trump. I think I was one of like 4 or 5 of his advisors. I got caught up in all of that. That was pardoned along with Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, General Flynn, I believe, and myself. So yeah, it was a very small group that really went through hell and back, guys. And the president, I think, understood that, and he pardoned us, and it's something I'll never forget.
Wow. You hear so much talk about the 2020 election, and you hear, certainly on the left, they never stop asking, do you think Trump won in 2020? What do you think about January? Will you accept the results of the 2024 election, even if there's some evidence of this is nonstop? They want to try to suggest that Republicans deny the outcome of elections. But go back to 2016, and this is what we're talking about. Trump gets elected. Hillary Clinton goes on a speaking tour around the country talking about Russia collusion and how Russia interfered in our elections. She said it so strenuously that they even took out an event. First, they crafted a fake dossier just to get the authority to spy on the president. And you remember when the president said they're spying on me, they're like, oh, this guy's crazy. He's making stuff up. Turns out they were spying on him. Then they went after all of his people. They went after him. A 1.5-year Bob Mueller investigation, which uncovered nothing. Then they impeached him twice. All about Russia, Russia, Russia. He says it all the time. Russia, Russia, Russia. Meanwhile, they can't stop asking if we'll accept the results of an election. And that's what's so insane. They lose, it's Russia collusion. We lose, and they want to put people in jail.
Well, and they're already, on top of that, laying groundwork to potentially not accept the results of this election if Donald Trump wins. So it's just so hypocritical. It's ridiculous. And, when you talk about will we accept or do we deny the events of the last election, the reality of it is, there wasn't election interference. So if elections aren't supposed to be interfered in, which I would say that when you have a presidency that's interfered in, then you can't even expect to have an election where that person's running again to not be interfered in. It was obviously interfered in with everything from the collusion with big tech. I mean, that's interference. That's clearly interference. Hunter Biden laptop. We know all this stuff. This was interference. So why should we just roll over and accept that? But he did. He's not in office. So clearly everybody accepted it because he's not president. And we've had 4 years now of Biden-Harris, and it's been destroying the country. We surely don't want 4 more of just Harris, who's the bigger puppet than even Biden.
Yeah. Well, and
trust me, I know puppets.
You do know puppet. You're a puppet expert. And so that's actually one of the few things I will argue that well about puppets. So,
Thanks.
but now, George, you hear what Puppet says, and there has been election interference. We saw just the other day that in UK, the Labour Party was literally spending money to interfere in our elections. They even had, I believe there was an internal memo that they were that somebody was reporting on that talked about one of their priorities was to kill the X platform and to keep us from being able to communicate. I mean, like you said, it wasn't just the United States. It was a global effort. I want to ask you, do you think we're better off now, though, approaching, because this is the number one question. Everywhere I've gone, I've spoken at, everywhere. The number one question, you can guarantee it when it's time for questions, boop, yes. Do you think we're going to have a fair election in 2024? And so my question to you, and we're going to talk about the polls later when we talk with the panel, but do you think we've learned our lesson from 2016? Are we in a better place now? Has the foreign interference lessened? Are we more attuned to it? What do you think? How do you compare now from 2016? Can you give people hope?
Well, so there's the hallmark of the American project, right, is the smooth transition of power between one presidency to the next. In 2016, Obama prevented that smooth transition of power because he put his fingers on our democratic process and on the truth, using the CIA, British intelligence, other intelligence, the FBI, to subvert the democratic process, the Trump campaign, and of course the Trump administration. Then when they weren't held accountable for what they did in 2016, what happened in 2020? Big tech, the media, and the intelligences, including the CIA, overtly this time, not subtly, the way they did in 2016, because I always say that the world we lived in before 2016 is completely different than 2024. In terms of how awakened people are, where people get their information from, who they believe, the credibility of the media is in the toilet now compared to what you could argue it was before 2015. So all of these factors really affect how people view this election vis-a-vis the last elections, right? And when the CIA said that the Hunter laptop story was disinformation, which arguably tilted the election, according to various reports, to Biden, and then that came out as another debunked story. Now people, including on the left, the center, and the right, they're, I think, more aware, they're more cognizant of the disinformation, misinformation, and the activism that permeates the mainstream media, including ABC News, where we saw during the debate, where there were reports that Kamala had the questions beforehand, and that whole setup that went into that. The credibility of the media is in the garbage bin right now, because they've showcased themselves to either be plants of the intelligences or activists of the Democrats. So that's why X, shows like yours, others, are so important. So I think with the subtle interference in 2016, the overt interference in 2020, now I don't know what they could potentially do outside of try to kill the president. And that's why I think they tried to kill him twice, reportedly a third time. That failed. And given the restrictions and all of the safeguards, apparently, that the RNC and the GOP and people like Scott Pressler, who are working valiantly on election integrity and making sure we have a fair and free election, I don't think that they can steal it the way that they expected to, based on just all of their abject failures the last two times around. So it's going to be very interesting these next week or so going into this election. And I think the president's safety is paramount at this point, because I think the way the polls are showing, Kamala's completely going to get wiped out during the election. I think even the mainstream media now has given up on her. The Democrat Party seems to have decided that she's not the right candidate, and Trump's life could be in danger as a result. And this is something that I fear more than anything right now.
Wow. Yeah. And we'll talk about that on the panel too. Washington Post isn't even endorsing Kamala. The polls are looking bad for her. The press has even sort of turned against her. You're exactly right. But you do give me hope that at least some of the old tricks that they were able to get away with might not work this time around. We have X now. The people are, I think, more aware of what fake news is. And I think we are in a different environment. You're right. We do need to protect the president. I want to ask you, so for the docuseries, if people want to check it out, how do you recommend them checking it out?
Yeah, so the docuseries, it's 6 episodes. So you have my episode is the first one. Then you have Roger Stone, General Michael Flynn, Kash Patel, married Rudy Giuliani, and I think it finalizes with Tucker Carlson himself, who's part of it. And it's called All the President's Men. It's exclusive right now on TCN. So if you just go on Tucker Carlson Network and you subscribe to it, you can watch that and some of his other new documentaries that he's been putting out just recently. This is like a new phenomenon, even for Tucker, putting out this type of content. Yeah, you could find it on there, and it should be airing this coming up week.
Wow. All right, everybody, go check it out. I mean, these are the stories that you need to watch. You need to be able to tell your friends about it, because when you're bombarded with the fake news that they've memorized and they're going to hit you with at your cocktail parties, you need to actually have the facts. George Papadopoulos, thank you so much. You're sticking around for the panel, right?
That's right.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the polls. We're going to be talking about Kamala's horrible statements and allegations against President Trump. We're going to be talking about fraud uncovered in Pennsylvania. So much to talk about, so much more, and it's all coming back right after this. Stay tuned.
It's never been more important to secure your hard-earned wealth for you and your family's future. FinSec Life works to offer industry-leading customer service to help successful individuals and businesses protect their wealth. Whether it's a business succession plan, estate liquidity, or a variety of life and long-term care policies, FinSec Life can help deliver peace of mind, knowing that if something happens, you or your company is taken care of. Visit finseclife.com. That's FINSEC life.com. Securities offered through Valmark Security Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Valmark Advisors Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. FinSec Life is a separate entity from Valmark Securities Inc. and Valmark Advisors Inc.
Welcome to Raised Right Books, where each tale unfolds with gentle conservative lessons. These stories come alive with hand-drawn illustrations and playful rhymes. If you've been looking for ways to teach your little patriots valuable life lessons, look no further. Discover these delightful stories at raisedrightbooks.org.
In today's fast-paced world, effective communication is the backbone of successful businesses. Are outdated systems and high costs slowing you down? Switch to Public Telephone Company for cutting-edge voice-over IP solutions. Enjoy seamless connectivity, unparalleled reliability, and significant cost savings. Tailor-made voice-over IP solutions designed for your business needs. Join countless businesses in transforming your communication with Public Telephone Company. Public Telephone Company. Revolutionize the way you connect.
Welcome back to the David Pollack Show featuring Puppet Carlson. George Papadopoulos is still with us. And you know what time it is, Puppet?
I know, one of my favorite times of the show.
I know. Didn't last week we say we were going to come up with a panel time song or
Oh,
something?
yeah.
What did we...
You got to get the song.
Did we say panel time? Is that
panel
what we
time?
Panel time. Yeah, we got to do that. That's your project, Puppet, for the next week.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have a panel time song because.
Okay, I'll get it. I'll get it done, Dave.
Yeah. So George is sticking around, so I only have to bring in one extra panelist tonight. But this panelist can probably hold it all on her own. She's got a bunch of different shows where she does.
That's right.
She's got Home
She's the
Front
panelist with
and
the mostest.
View, and then her latest show, Open Mic. I like to call it Two Chicks, One Mic. And
I was waiting for somebody to do it. It had to be you to get it, David.
Of course, it's Dave.
My
Dirty
God.
Dave.
Oh man, if you're not talking about Puppet and his puppet hole, your mind is
a manhole. It's a
Worse than
manhole.
mine, I swear.
Dirty Dave.
Hi, George. I'm so sorry you have to deal with these two.
So we're talking about a lot of stuff tonight, Aly, and I'll let you pick what we talk about first. So tonight we're on our panel. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris being perfect. Of course, there's no flaws whatsoever. She can't think of anything she's ever done wrong. We're also going to talk about the polls and Kamala's being destroyed, and we'll talk about that later. And What else are we going to talk about? She called Trump Hitler. So, of course, we're all Hitlers. And by the way, on Sunday, I'm going to be in Madison Square Garden watching Trump. And I believe, who said that? Somebody said, was it Hillary Clinton? Somebody said that it was like a Nazi convention.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's recreating.
I'll
Trump
say
is recreating
for when we talk about it, because that is ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm going to the Nazi convention, the recreated Nazi convention.
As a Jew, lovely.
Let me ask you, Aly. I'll go to you first, Aly. What happened to the joy? Have we just thrown joy out the window and now we're just going straight to Nazism? I mean, is this where we're at?
I mean, if this is joyful, wow. I'd hate to see what it's like when she's really pissed.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's hear from, what did you say her name was? Kareem Jean-Pierre Puppet?
Yes.
Let's hear from her and
KJP, the worst press secretary in this universe.
Well, no, she's great, actually. I'm gonna push back on you there, Puppet. You know why? Who else can go stand at that podium and lie the way they demand her lie, right?
She doesn't lie well, though. That's what's bad about it. She's such a bad liar.
I think she lies pretty well. I mean,
no, she's terrible. Her eyes flutter. If her lips are moving, she's lying.
Well, right, but that's, if all their lips are moving, they're lying, and so
I mean, she's terrible.
At least she doesn't circle back to her lies. At least she just
not
tells
even
her lies straight from the podium. Well, let's hear
don't
what
know
she
if
had to
it's
say.
Circle back or turn the page.
Yeah. Forward, never going back. Whatever they say, they have all these stupid slogans. All right.
None of it means anything.
And the funny tangent, the funniest one is we're not going back. They own the White House right now.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We're not going back.
Yeah, we're not going back. We're not doing that again.
It's the dumbest slogan. First it was joy.
Turn the page.
Yes.
We're going to turn the page on ourselves.
Yes. First it was let them eat cake. Everybody, it's joy.
George got something. You got something, George?
Yeah.
It was Build Back Better.
I know.
You guys forget
nothing.
That was like ancient history compared to all the new slogans that they're rolling out.
They're really getting bad at the slogans. I think the best one was Hope and Change with Obama. After that, I think they got overconfident, got over their skis a little bit. And I'm with her was Hillary Clinton's. I think we talked about that earlier. I'm with her.
Exactly.
Okay. Good. Not enough you were. So anyway, let's hear from KJ.
Should just be like, believe the lies.
Right. Believe the lies. It should be. No, now their new slogan is they're all Nazis. That's
the new one. But let's not jump the skis, okay?
Yes, exactly. All right, let's hear from KJP.
Adolf Hitler is dangerous and it's also disgusting.
So just to be clear, when you said we do agree, President Biden believes that Donald Trump is a fascist.
I mean, yes, he said himself. The former president has said he is going to be a dictator on day one. We cannot ignore that. We cannot. And we cannot ignore or forget what happened on January 6th.
Oh, of course.
Of course we can.
Of course. January 6th.
Yeah, I mean,
Trump, Hitler.
That just says it all.
Yes.
So over it.
That should actually be their slogan. It should say Harris Walls, Hitler, January 6th, Trump. Right? Like, why even try anymore?
That's all they're running on. They have no policy, nothing.
No. But, Puppet, that's not what Donald Trump said, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah, check it out.
He has been focused on this and attacking you under no circumstances. You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
what? He's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
not
retribution.
I'm going to be, you know, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president.
That's exactly.
A dictator on day one, right, George Papadopoulos?
What's happened to Hannity? I mean, what kind of questions are these? Like, I mean, it was just like such a bizarre type of question. And secondly, regarding retribution, obviously, if the president appoints the right attorney general, whoever that man or woman is, if that person's a patriot and a constitutionalist and believes in a one-tier justice system that applies the rule of law equally and fairly without regard to any political affiliation, then I think you're probably going to have a lot of high-profile Democrats who are involved in a lot of illegal activity being targeted for all the right reasons. That's not retribution. That is just fair application of the law that the Attorney General and the Department of Justice will look into if there's probable cause and not sweep it underneath the rug of history the way that AG Barr and feckless Jeff Sessions did to the first Trump administration, which resulted in so much disarray and calamity around the Trump administration and cover-ups.
Yeah,
I mean, really, that ushered in the opportunity to do it again, to have more corruption and more, because there was no accountability. Without accountability, you got nothing.
Exactly, Puppet. That's exactly what. That's why I was shocked that Hannity even brought something like that up, because it's not like the president can just like wave off his finger and say, "Hey, go get this guy, go get her." It doesn't work like that. But if an attorney general turns a blind eye to high-profile Democrats who are involved in corruption because they don't want maybe high-profile Republicans involved in that to be exposed, that's a different issue. Transparency and accountability. That's what America wants. That's what the American people have wanted since day one. And I believe that that's what Donald Trump will deliver, and he will do it fairly, impartially, and following the rules. And there's nothing else that we could ask for.
Well, I agree with you. I feel like right now in this administration, they are waving this magic wand where they could just arrest anybody that they feel like, which is currently what's happening. I mean, it happened with you. It happened with General Flynn. It's happened with, January 6th protesters. It's happened with people that have prayed outside of abortion clinics. It's happening all over the place. But that is exactly your point. That's not what the Trump administration is going to do. But also, this shows that people don't understand humor anymore, and they weren't properly educated on what hyperboles are to begin with. So I just think the whole thing is hilarious, and I think Hannity should probably lose his job. Like, why are you asking questions like that? You're supposed to be a proper journalist. That's such a tongue-in-cheek question that should not have been answered. He knew it was going to be taken out of context.
Well, yeah, everything is taken out of context.
I just think, though, that Dave, I want you to comment on this because you're the one that.
I was commenting.
I want you to comment on the act.
You want me to comment on what you want me to comment? Go ahead, Paul.
Yes, I want you to comment on what I want to talk about, which was what the clip was about, which is about I forgot what the clip was about. Forget it.
We just talked about it. I mean, what is wrong with you? It was Hannity asking Donald Trump if he's going to be a dictator on day one. That's the thing that got taken out of context. Everybody's saying he's Hitler now for some reason as a result. That's what we're talking about, Puppet.
Yes. Well, it's the out of context. It's all the out of context stuff. Like, these people just take one word. Like, did you listen to the clip?
No.
Did anyone listen to the
They know what they're doing.
Which clip? The clip? Well, we listened.
I'm not
to it.
talking about you guys, but
we listened to it.
Like, they just think that everybody's stupid because you can just go on the internet, get the clip, listen to the clip. He did not say he did say he was going to be a dictator. Okay.
For one day.
He's going to be a dictator on day one because he's going to shut the border and he's going to drill.
Yeah.
That's not being a dictator, folks. That's ridiculous. And for you, the vice president of the United States and the press secretary to get up on the podium in front of the entire world and say, see, Donald Trump even said it himself. He's going to be a dictator.
He's Hitler.
Absolutely ridiculous.
So disingenuous.
Well, and the Hitler thing comes from, and then I'll talk about what you want me to talk about.
That was what I wanted you to talk about, Dave.
Okay, I'll talk about that in a second. The Hitler thing, apparently his former chief of staff, another backstabber, Kelly, apparently he said Trump once praised Hitler. And then so they're going around, and then Kamala Harris in front of the vice presidential seal, he praises Hitler. He wants the army to serve him. How dark and terrifying. Crazy. Because look, and this goes to the question you want me to address, Puppet. It's not that people are stupid. It's that people trust the media still. Now, less people do. But they shouldn't trust the media because the media is nothing more now than basically a few people who own all of the media stations, who give the talking points to the press and says, this is what you're going to be talking about tonight based on who our advertisers, donors, or politicians that we have in our pocket want you to say. And so you don't get any real information from the news. But the thing is, it's taking a long time for people because imagine trusting somebody. Imagine having, God forbid, a spouse or, that cheats on you or a good best friend that steals from you. It takes a really long time to not trust somebody that you've trusted for a really long time. And for generations, The people have trusted the media, Tom Brokaw, and all these people who come on your television at night and tell you the news. This is the objective news. And so you listen to those people and you trust those people and you invite them into your home and then you talk about what those people tell you as if it's the truth. The world has changed. And people are starting to accept the fact that the press has cheated on them. The press has stolen from them. The press are not a group of honest people.
Right.
Well, then what do? You Google it? Well, then you find out the Google lies to you. They've suppressed the information showing that President Trump was almost assassinated.
Yep.
Where do you get truth from when everybody is biased and everybody is lying? That is, I think, the reason why, Puppet, people just accept what they want to accept. If they don't like Donald Trump, they accept that, okay, fine. He touched a woman or something. Okay, fine. He called people Hitler. Okay, fine. Because if you ask anybody that hates Donald Trump why they don't like Donald Trump, the only reason they can give you or whatever the fake news told them is the reason why they hate Trump. He's a racist. What evidence do you have that he's a racist? He just is. Give me an example. I don't have to. He's a bigot too, and he's a homophobe. How? It doesn't matter. So where we're at is people aren't stupid. They're brainwashed, and they've been lied to, and they've been cheated on. And that, I think, is the problem. And people like Kamala Harris and Kareem Jean-Pierre, or whatever her name is, who go and then lie to the American people under the seal of truth. This is the press secretary, for God's sakes. This is the vice president of the United States standing behind the presidential seal, lying to people.
Right.
And this is just normal. So this, I think, people are starting to reject. I think people are getting sick of it. I think the hyperbole, I just don't think people are buying it anymore. And that's why, Puppet, Kamala Harris is tanking in the polls. Watch this.
Great white whale. Harris versus Trump national margin. You mentioned that New York Times poll, a tie. That's actually right in the middle of the spectrum when we're talking about recent polling data. You don't have to look very far to find Donald Trump ahead nationally. He was up by 2 points in the CNBC poll, up by 3 in the Wall Street Journal poll. Very close races within the margin of error. But then the same thing on the other side, right? You have Harris up by 3 points according to Ipsos. The Say 24 YouGov poll, it's a bunch of academics, also has Harris up by 3. But the bottom line is, with the popular vote, which we really haven't focused upon, a very, very tight race, John. Fact is, Donald Trump is very much in a position he could win the popular vote, which, of course, is something he would absolutely love to do.
And that's CNN.
Yeah.
George.
I like how he qualified the last poll, a bunch of academics, right? because those are basically the only type of polls that probably are skewing in favor of Harris. I don't even think 18-year-olds or like the TikTok crowd or any of the younger people are with Harris at this point. Let alone a big swath of America. So it's not surprising, and it's kind of what was really fascinating was a CNN town hall. I think she went in there expecting Anderson Cooper and some of these other activists to just throw her these softball questions and not really push back on any of the nonsense, the lies that she was expecting to lay out. And they went after her. They basically humiliated her on CNN and on Fox News. She likes to glow that she had 7 million views on Fox News. That was another interview with Bret Baier that she completely whiffed on, and she completely humiliated herself. So the media is not really doing her any favors, and I think it's because they've abandoned her already as a candidate because they understand that her candidacy is futile at this point. It's money gone to waste, and right now, even more importantly, the Democrat Party has an identity crisis. They overthrew the 80-year-old white guy, replaced him with a younger, biracial woman. Who now is flailing, doesn't know, is she the future? Is AOC the future? Is a guy like Walz? They don't know what to do right now. And it's a perfect moment for MAGA and the American First crowd to take advantage of it and to reconsolidate our base and to perpetuate MAGA for the next 20 years while the Democrats right now are in a downward spiral.
Well, George, I think it's more of an opportunity, not just from MAGA. I think it's an opportunity for America. Because you have people like RFK Jr., You have people like Tulsi Gabbard, people like Jordan Peterson. You have Democrats, libertarians, independents. Everybody is bailing on Kamala Harris. We talked earlier, the Washington Post is not endorsing a presidential candidate this year. They weren't going to endorse Trump, just for the record, but they're not endorsing Kamala. First time in like 100 years. Everybody is abandoning Kamala Harris. And I think that's what gives us unity. You talk about holding people accountable. Holding people accountable for what they did to this country, plus rejecting Kamala Harris, that's holding people accountable. That is what America wants. America wants J.D. Vance and Tim Walz debate, right? And they said it after so refreshing to hear these two agree with one another and not go at each other.
Yeah,
but America doesn't blame Trump for that anymore. That's what's so interesting. America blames Kamala because she's going out there calling him Hitler. She's going out there attacking anybody who supports him. And the American people now are blaming them for the division, not Trump. And I think that's really where people are going. Now, you talk about Kamala Harris on Anderson Cooper, and I have a clip for you I want to share about how perfect Kamala is, because he asked her, did you make any mistakes? Watch this.
Some would say, but I actually think it's the strength.
Well, my weaknesses are actually strengths. Oh. Yes. Very good. There you go. Very good.
I really do value having a team of very smart people around me.
I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
Oh, it's perfect. I mean, it's exactly right. It's like that's where she got her talking points from, right, Aly?
Well, this is what happens when you have somebody propped up as the vice president without votes, who barely got into the primaries the first time that she ran for president. It's just, this is the media's fault, right? This is those that run the Democrat Party. This is all their fault. This is their downfall, and they need to own it. And I'm here for it, every last bit of it, because it's incredible to see. The only people that are really supporting her are billionaire celebrities.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and
they've probably all been to Diddy parties. So who knows?
Interesting.
And look, the basement strategy worked for Biden. She should have stayed in the basement, because when she first announced, she had the DJs, she had the fireworks, she had the celebrities. She was up in the polls. She was raising a ton of money in a lot of murky ways. I mean, there's a lot of questions about where that money actually was coming from.
Right.
And she probably thought that she was invincible, but then later on she starts to talk, and people are like, okay, we can't do anything with this person, because there's nothing to work on, because she's a complete and abject failure. She has no substance. Just going back to her days in California politics, she's been modeled and coddled all the way up to the top. And when she exposed herself, I think that was the end of her. And it's something that not even the media can really cover up for at this point, unless they want to completely discredit themselves, even with the liberal base at this point.
Wow, no, I agree.
There's no authenticity with her either. So every time she opens her mouth, there's like either a lie comes out, or there's a word salad, or she doesn't answer the question. She's a terrible candidate. And I've worked with candidates. David, you've worked with candidates. I would just tell her to her face, sometimes good people with good intentions should not run for office, sweetie, and you are one of those people.
Well, I disagree with that. She doesn't have good intentions. That's why she can't answer a question.
But, you kind of try to be a little nice when you got clients coming to you to help them, win a campaign. I'm just saying, you, baby girl, go sit down somewhere, because this is not the race for you.
Well,
they
that's
have
what the voter
spent
said. Go ahead.
$1.4 billion. And no one can tell you one thing, let alone three things, that her platform is about. And the reality of what she stands for. And the reality is, because if she told you,
was a mix of
you would never vote for her.
Right.
Go ahead, George.
So she has to lie.
Yeah.
No, it's exactly what Aly was just saying. She has no policies, no substance. You don't even know what she stands for. It's exactly like Hillary, right? I'm with her. I cannot remember, and I was working in the heart of the 2016 campaign, what she actually stood for. And I really think the bottom line is this: these are not their individual policies. These are policies by the Democrat machine that they're instructed to go out there and potentially articulate or talk about, but it's very uncomfortable to go on the national stage and talk about something that doesn't belong to you. Why is Trump so forceful when he talks about his policies, when he talks about tariffs, when he talks about the wall, being tough on China, rescinding on the Iran nuclear deal, Abraham Accords, NATO, paying its fair share? These are his original ideas, putting a little Roosevelt in there, some Reagan, but putting it together and just saying, I'm going to implement these because no one's going to tell me no, because I stood for these ideas since at least the 80s, while Kamala and Clinton and some of these other high-profile Democrats, once they get in the game, they understand they are real puppets, okay? Not like the one we have here. I mean, these are real puppets, and that makes them very uncomfortable, and people could see right through that kind of stuff, guys, and it's very evident.
Yeah. Well, considering that, and I think Aly has a fan. So we all know, look, we look at the polls, Trump's doing well, but everybody, and like I talked about earlier, George, everybody still wants to know, well, okay, look, Trump's doing well in the polls and everybody's going to vote, but it's not the people who vote, it's the people who count those votes, right? And I think that's what everybody is still concerned about after 2020. Will counties say, well, we still don't know who won because we have to count up all these ballots. But, George, you and I talked about this. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with it this time because look at what's going on in Pennsylvania. Check it out.
It is through their diligence that our staff uncovered apparent incidents of attempted voter registration fraud here in Lancaster County. Through the staff's normal review process, as many as 2,500 completed voter registration forms are being researched for potential fraud stemming from 2 separate drop batches by individuals. At that time, staff contacted the district attorney's office and members of the Board of Elections. Applications in these batches are going through an extensive multi-step review process, including the district attorney's office for further investigation as warranted. This includes issues of duplicate handwriting matching other voter registration forms in the batches, inconsistent signatures with what is on the file in the SURE system, because some of these or many of these are duplicates, unverifiable and or accurate addresses, an inaccurate driver's license or social security number verification. We have an obligation under the election code, just not only that, but a moral obligation to investigate any matters of potential fraud. Applications that have gone through this extensive review and investigative process and are not deemed to be fraudulent are being processed. I want to stress this. No eligible.
Wow, right? So here's my question to you guys. Here's the question to the panel.
Okay.
They didn't just this isn't the first time somebody tried to have fraudulent signatures on the ballot or fake social security. They didn't just invent this year. What you're seeing is the same playbook of 2020. They're doing it again. Mm-hmm. But for some reason this time, George Papadopoulos, for some reason, they're speaking out and saying something. Why?
Well, now you can kind of understand why the DOJ and the Biden administration went so hardcore on January 6th and rounding up MAGA grandmas, people that had nothing to do with it, instilling fear. It basically sent the subliminal message that if you want to question, because let's not forget, if you did something violent or illegal, I think those people should be prosecuted. I mean, if you were beating up cops, breaking things, that's a different issue. But if you were just there peacefully protesting something that you believed was fraudulent, that's protected under the Constitution in a normal sense. Those people have also been targeted, and it sent the message, like I was just trying to explain, that if you question the election, we could come after you. And when Trump himself started saying that they stole the election, that's when the media really ramped up the heat against them and said, hey, shut up, this is all conspiracy. And that's why they keep talking about it, because they wanted to keep the people's eye off the ball. And the ball is, if elections don't matter, nothing doesn't matter. And that's why we've had a 4-year head start right now from 2020 to assure that we have the safeguards in place that we didn't have probably in 2020, let alone 2016, to prevent what they did the last 2 elections once again. The people's eyes are on the ball this time. The media can't cover it up anymore. The Supreme Court is, on the side of the Republicans if this ends up going there, which it might if we have a really contested election. And I think that's why people are now being more vocal and standing up for a fair and free democratic election, because we simply haven't had it the last two.
Yeah. Aly, if they're trying this in Pennsylvania but getting caught, are they trying this in Georgia now? Michigan? Are they trying it in Ohio? Are they trying it in Nevada and Arizona? So this can't be the only place they're attempting to recreate this fraud, right? Do you think other people will get caught?
I hope other people get caught, especially now that, like George said, there are more eyes on what is really going on. And we have a free platform in X and in Truth where we're able to, talk about these things freely without being reprimanded or blocked or censored or whatever it is. So the people are paying attention, and everybody has a cell phone. So anytime they find something, they're able to record it and put it somewhere or share it amongst their own circle of influence. And that's how it gets out. My only issue is that there's a lot of legacy media, even like Fox News. They want to make it where it's focused on the DOJ going after, states that are trying to clean their voter rolls. But the problem is, what we need to be talking about is that we the people have known about this issue since 2020. And we have tried in almost every state where we've seen this issue to push forward election security legislation that has gotten dead on arrival. So it's not, and it's happened in Republican states, Florida. So it's not just that it's the DOJ going after these states that are trying to clean their voter rolls. Mind you, we're only hearing about all of this, it started 16 days before the election. Why are we talking about this now, 2 weeks before the biggest election in our history, one of the biggest elections in our history? The first two were George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Now it's Donald Trump. Why are we talking about election security issues 2 weeks before the election? It doesn't make any sense. And then we're shifting the blame and kind of giving the authority or the accountability off of the Republican Party. Guys, you have had 4 years to fix this, and all of you sat on your hands.
No, I know. I didn't answer your question. It's not rhetorical. The answer to your question is Kamala has become less acceptable than Donald Trump.
Yes.
They're okay with the fraud when it benefits them. Now, when I say they, I mean all of them.
Yep.
I think they're panicking, and they realize that having Kamala Harris as president is more dangerous than Donald Trump. I think that's why they're uncovering the fraud. The fraud is going to be there, but whether or not they pull the trigger on it is the question. And I think that is the reason why these are going to start to be exposed. I don't think they're going to play the fraud game this time because I don't think they want Kamala Harris to be president.
Well, David, I like that you bring that up because when you say that oh my gosh, I just had a binding moment. Lord have mercy.
That's our Puppet has those all the time.
I had one earlier. I'm not making fun of you, Aly.
No, of course not. Why would we? But look, I'm encouraged, Aly. I think that the fact that they're finding this fraud, I don't think they're going to be able to overturn the election with fraud this time around. And I think Trump is winning by so much that it's going to be too big to rig, as Trump posted the other day on X. I think once the margins come in, I think they won't be able to overcome it with fraud, not without it being obvious. Plus, you take RFK, you take Tulsi Gabbard. There's a lot of high-profile people who won't let it go. They will call out fraud, and it won't be just Donald Trump. So I feel really confident that when Donald Trump wins on election night, that's going to be the end of it. And then we just have to make sure we have his back going all the way through Inauguration Day, because that's the real test. What are they going to pull? Puppet, that's all the time we have. George Papadopoulos, thank you for coming on. Aly Legge. I'm going to play a video tonight since we talked about polls. This is called a cookie poll. And I'm going to play us out with that. But Puppet, last words goes to you.
Remember, the fleece stops here, folks.
That's right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining. See you next week, day before the election. My
birthday, guys!
Oh, gosh. Somebody send her a gift, please. See you guys, 8 p.m. Don't forget.
Trump, your president. That's
yes. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, they wanna know how to get like me. Dream so big that I cannot sleep. Put in that time and I put in that grind. I'm the best in the world, that's all I see. Never back down, I'm standing strong.